down to one fact. So one situation, one fact. And so, and I did bring some with me, so I was going to, because I thought I didn't want to make this up. Okay, so I have this couple, and I'm going to just call her, I'll call her Jackie. It's not a real name, but. So the fact or the situation was that she yells when she's upset. So that was just their fact as a couple. So let's just call them Jackie and Mike. Okay, not their real names. So instead of getting into why she's yelling, and so Mike now, everybody takes a turn. So I'm just going to circle because it was Mike's turn that day. So that's really important too, is you have to take turns in this. So it does slow the whole thing down. Though the principle is that as you go slow, it's smoother, and smoother is faster. So instead of a big fight, going through this model might take a bit of work and thinking. However, in the end, you're not fighting, and in the end, you get your needs heard and listened to. So it actually does save time, even though it's awkward. And then one of the things that Marshall does, and I've seen this too in my office, is whoever is having that more heightened energy. So in this time, Jackie had already had her turn, so then this was Mike's turn. Do you see how it goes? So then, and you got to make sure everybody gets a turn, because if you start mixing it up, then that's when it's, well, you'll see how it goes. Okay? So, and the yelling was about food preparation. But I put it over here because it wasn't really, the yelling happened anyways. The food preparation was more a detail. So self-empathy. What would self-empathy look like? And you can pop up the answer if you want, anybody. What would self-empathy look like?
Knowing that you're tired.
Okay, I'm tired, okay? I'm tired, I did a lot of work today. Okay, so I'm tired. Maybe I'm not enough. That doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's just self-empathy. This is how Mike is feeling, okay? So Mike's saying, I'm not enough. That's self-empathy. And it could go under judgment. It's possible. Or perception. It's possible. So sometimes these don't have a really black and white area, but it doesn't really, even though it's not a fact though. Well, it is if he's tired, but it's not a fact for her. The fact is that she's yelling. And so we've got to go underneath that. A judgment could be, maybe this is a judgment. I'm not enough. What could it be another judgment? Just name one that you felt.
Expectations.
Okay, yeah, expectations. Yeah, so see how these ones can get kind of back and forth a bit, right? So Mike may have a judgment on himself. He might just think, oh, I don't want to really pile more stuff on her. But really, that's not a fact. It's just an assumption. So maybe, and what happens with Mike, he shuts down. So we'll just put don't want to pile things on. Okay, so here's where the feelings come in and the needs. So, I'm just going to ask you, so pretend to be Mike. You come home, or your wife comes home, and she starts yelling at you because you've been watching TV and you didn't cook supper, or it wasn't done. What kind of feelings are you having when you're being yelled at?
Guilty.
Guilty, okay. And check out your sheets there. And you can use feelings that you have. So he also, you know what? He was scared when he got yelled at. He felt scared. This is really interesting. I love this model because I've had couples come into my office and they'll say, oh, my husband doesn't talk, he never tells me how he feels. I give him the sheet and he goes, I feel overwhelmed, confused, anxious, and scared. Okay then. That's pretty clear. And that's how he was feeling, overwhelmed. So then, we went to the needs part. So what I said to him, and I just want you to pretend, I said, Mike, what needs are not being met when this happens? Understanding. And so the cool thing is when you're in a situation, and I know I'm just presenting this, and actually if people are interested, I know you asked me, a few others have asked about doing a workshop on this. It would be, I think, a one-day workshop and you would pair off. The very cool thing is, when we're actively listened to, when we're actively heard already, we start to relax, right? That is the first step in healing and being heard and acknowledged. So what's happening now is, what happens when you do the feelings, let's say Mike, he's doing the feelings, we can guess. We can say, oh, Mike, are you feeling, I don't know if I brought it up, but I said, are you feeling scared? Yeah, I'm feeling scared. So what's happening when someone asks you how you're feeling? Even if I'm wrong, if I say, are you feeling disconnected? And he says no. But what's happening?
You're acknowledging.
Right, and what else?
Listening.
Yeah, and I'm engaged. Like, right now, I'm really curious. I want to know what's happening when this happens. Okay? So, here's what he came up for needs. Someone said a need of understanding. He has a great need of harmony and calm and clarity and tenderness. So here's how it goes. So Mike has, let's pretend Mike's worked through this on his own. He goes, you know what, Jackie? When I'm home, and I know I was watching TV, and food wasn't quite done, but when you come and start yelling like this, I have such a need for harmony and calm in our relationship. I have such a need for clarity and tenderness between us, that when you yell like that, I feel horribly scared and confused and overwhelmed. Okay? So what's happening is vulnerability. I mean, it's easy to yell and be angry and snap. But wow, I'm laying it all out now. I've just told you I got really scared. Okay? And I have a great longing. These are my needs. So when this happens, these needs are challenged. So I shut down. And I walk away. And of course, what happens? Jackie screams more. It's just the scenario, right? Okay, so does this sort of make sense? Any questions before I go on? No? Okay, so when you get to this part, and then you've said this, then Mike comes up and he says, Jackie, can you hear me? Can you repeat back to me what you heard me say? So who wants to give that a try, what I just said? It's all there, so. So who wants to pretend to be Jackie?
To be Jackie?
Yeah. So I'm Mike, and I just said, when you yell at me.
Okay, I'll be Jackie.
Okay, so what did you hear me say?
Mike, I heard you say that when I yell at you, you're feeling scared and confused and overwhelmed, and you really need understanding and harmony and calm and clarity from me.
Yeah. And then you could say, is that right?
Is that right?
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, so now it's a conversation, you see. is that right? And then Mike could say, well, yeah, and I also want the tenderness between us. So then it's a conversation, you see. So and then she go, oh yeah, okay, that's what you meant. Yes, I hear you. Okay, so it's real acknowledgement. So and then it's a conversation, right? So then the next is the key, is it says request of self and or request of other and or support. So I'm just going to flip this over. I won't write it out each time, but because you've got it there. Okay, so request of self. Maybe I should keep this, hang on. We didn't need that, okay. So so I'm the first one here, so I'm going to be Mike. So I have a great need for understanding, I have a great need for harmony, clarity, and tenderness. So what can I request of myself to give myself that first? Because I need that. What's something I can request of myself?
Patience?
Yeah, okay. To be patient with myself or with my partner?
With myself.
Okay, cool.
Breathe. Breathe.
Breathe. Thank you. I wasn't breathing. Okay, so breathe. What did you say
Be
again?
patient with myself.
Yes. Be patient of self. Yeah. So, and maybe we know it's going to blow over. So how do we do that? How do we sit in that space, right? And I think also a request of self could be to do this model. So I know what I'm going through so I can communicate it. I don't know. So now we come to the request of the other. So I'm just going to ask you, what's different than a request versus a demand? Actually, maybe I should ask Tim. He's just laughing. He's not going to tell us.
Oh, you actually wanted me to answer that?
Only if you want to. So this is a key though. So, okay, let's just play with this. So what could we do as a request of the other? So the other would be, Mike would be asking Jackie, what could he request of her? So we've just said, you know, when you yell, come in the door, this happens, and you know, what could, yeah?
You could say, how can I help?
How can I help? Oh, okay. So, but we've got to make it into a request. So you mean help? How can she help
Tell
you?
me how I can help.
Oh, okay. So
Tell me what's bothering you.
okay. Well, she's already come in the door yelling.
Yes, so he wants to know why, so he's saying, how can I help?
Well, she's still yelling. Right. So okay. So
What
how
are you
can I be
yelling at?
helpful?
What
So
are
how
you
can I
saying?
help? How can I help? Okay.
Why are you yelling? Please explain.
So make it sound like a request. So how can we tweak it? Yeah.
Give them some respect.
Some respect. So so he's asking for respect from her.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So this is really interesting because, whoops, respect. Oh, can't spell. Pretend it says respect.
R-E-Q.
Yes.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
R-E-Q-U-E-S-T.
You want to sing it? That's good. Okay, so how do we make it as a request?
Could you put it like, I would love it if when you came home, da-da-da-da-da.
I know.
Yeah.
Frame it like that, so it's an I message. Like, I
Yes,
would
so
really
it's-
appreciate it if you could.
Yeah, and it's a request. Because what
Yeah.
happens if we're told to do something?
The back
We're
goes
already,
up.
they're already hungry, and we're already, what happens? What happens when we're told?
You get angry.
Yeah,
Sounds
So Donna's suggesting, well, what if I come in and say, how did you say it again?
I said, I would really love it if you would come in here, da-da-da. Or you could even say, like if she came in and she was yelling and everything, I said, I would really appreciate it if you could go outside again and come back in so that we can talk. Or, you know, however you
Well,
want to
when
phrase it.
everybody's calmed down, you're right,
Yeah.
when they have the conversation,
Yeah.
so, yes.
Just
so-
in that sense that I would appreciate it if you did
So
such
an
and
I
such.
statement?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm just gonna do I statement, because this
Yeah.
is then,
And if
taking
she's-
ownership.
If she's still yelling, I would also request her to turn the volume down.
yeah.
Her voice,
And how
right?
do you do that? And then, yeah, and then have the conversation, right? So how do you have the conversation? So, I statements, and the thing is, it's a request.
Mhm.
She might not be able to. She might just say, you know what, I'm coming in from this 12-hour shift and I'm just pulling out my hair and I don't have the capacity. So I really need you to have that supper ready. So then there's this conversation, right? And so what maybe Mike might say to himself is go, oh, you know, it's really important. So maybe I gotta set a timer. Honey, can you text me? I know I did set the timer, but the football game was on. And I got distracted. He doesn't mean, nobody ever means to hurt anybody. Right? So then that's the conversation, right? So it becomes, any questions about that or ideas? You want to try?
A dozen roses work great.
There you go, there's a request, or yeah. So, yeah, so it's just being careful, yeah?
Could you give another example of request of self?
Yes, okay. So, okay, because I have a request of clarity, or a need of clarity, I should say. So maybe what I need to do is make sure, like I need to be clear. So I need to know, because one of the things that did come up in the conversation was that the things that were cooked were not liked. So how about I get clarity, I need more clarity of what I need to prepare. So that would be a request of me. So I do want to cook supper for my wife. So, but
I need to ask for clarity.
I need to get clarity,
Okay.
because I need clarity. So then maybe what I can do is ask in the morning, or maybe I've got to make something so I don't forget. It wasn't that I meant to forget.
So request could be, I could request myself to check in with Jackie about her needs.
Yep.
Why not just say I didn't cook dinner because there's a very nice special on at such and such a restaurant and I was planning to take you out. That works every time.
Very good, Jack.
You're very good.
You better hope they're not full when you get there.
So why I brought this up is, so you can see if we start mixing up facts. So let's say if we're talking, we're not using this model, and we start, oh, you don't ever do food preparation, blah, 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 and then he says something, she says something, bang, 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 and it's in the toilet for 3 hours. So when you slow it down and you calm down, so let's say, she comes in, she has a reaction, he doesn't react, she calms down, they say, okay, you know what, let's just go out for dinner and let's have a conversation about it. And you know what, they did. They came and they got help. And that was the request of support. So support is anyone outside of the situation. So support can be a parent, support can be a teacher, a neighbor, a friend, anybody that's not in the situation. So they made a request. They actually were using this model, not completely, but they made a request of me. So I was their support. They made requests of their families. So that's a request. So keeping the facts really tiny and not mixing them up. I just had a teenager, and I guess she had phoned her mom while she was at work. Mom hanged up on her. The teen went ballistic. So there was a real breakdown, and the communication was violent because both their needs were not met. So we came in, we just said, okay, we got to take turns. So then we learned about this, and it was amazing because the teen was able to articulate the feelings, and they were not anger. They were, I feel disconnected. I feel lost. I feel there was something else when she got hung up on, and her parents just sat there and just went, whoa. They had no idea because all they heard was the anger. So this takes that away. And then the needs were so not what they thought. She actually wanted time with them. They didn't know that. She wanted connectedness. So it was really, really, really cool, actually. But what happened was, she was calling, and she made a request of herself. And you know what her request of herself was? That when I call my mom, maybe I ask if she's got time to talk to me. And maybe I use a different tone of voice. That was her request of self. She came up with it all by herself. So that's another example. So it was really cool. So, and then they started having a conversation after that of how they could make that better. And they all walked out going, wow, we learned so much. So I'm going to wrap it up unless you have some questions about it. And I don't see anybody yawning yet, so it's always a good time to stop. If you've got any questions, if you have any interest, let me know. I'm willing to do a one-dayer.
Yeah, why don't you do a suggestion, maybe a list, and people could...
Sure, we can do that. We can do it on the back of one of these if you want, if you're interested. Because what's really to make this work is to bring in a situation with a friend or a family member, and you can do this in a group. It's really, really fun. I took a workshop, and actually if you want to study with an amazing woman, I studied with her in the summer because it was just terrific. It was a 3.5-day workshop, and we just ran through different scenarios, and we did the partnership, and it was just so great. And then another workshop, it was through the Unicamp, Ontario. Tim and I took a movement workshop, and the facilitator used this language throughout the whole weekend. We're just going, oh wow, what a blessing. So because we had been reading it, it just cleans it up. It's so nice. And you can keep the cheat sheets around in the house and just pull them out. So, and just because sometimes you get stuck. Yeah.
What's the name of the woman? You said that was really great that you did the workshop.
Elke. I can't spell her name, but if you email me, I can send you her. She will be teaching at the Unicamp. I can spell that. There's only one Unicamp in Ontario, and it's a Unitarian camp. She will be teaching there, so